Hi, this is Doug Cole from Right On Replicas bringing you another premium quality review. We'd like to help you turn this into this. At Right On Replicas, we take pride in providing you with the best scale model reviews on the planet. And remember, you can order a printable copy of any review at the ROR website. But if you want to see every review, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We know that there are a lot of you Ford Fusion owners out there that would like a scale model of your car. And we can provide that for you in a number of ways, but we're going to stick to what we call the slammer model here and show you how to make a replica of your car. So follow along as we show you how to convert the Revell Joey Logano number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion into a four-door family sedan. You'll need to use what we call a donor kit. In this case, I used the Joey Logano Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion from Revell, model kit number 85-1473, but you can also use Brad Keselowski's version 85-1472. You only need to assemble steps 2, 3, and 4 to get a rolling chassis here, and just a few simple screws to put this thing together, and you'll have the base frame together in about 2 minutes. One of the things that really enhances the look of your model is if you can take a picture of the wheels on your car. So using a digital camera, go out and take a photo of that from straight on out from the center. And also take a picture of your license plates to personalize the car. Now, print them out with a color printer if you have one, or black and white, and cut out the wheels with a pair of scissors or a circle cutter and glue them onto the wheels of the NASCAR kit. As you can see, these look pretty convincing for a 2D printout. Now take out the pre-painted Fusion body from the kit and give it an overall sanding with some fine sandpaper. This helps the paint stick. We'll start the body modifications now by using photos of a real Ford Fusion, or you could use some online photos too to sketch in the door, the hood, the trunk panels, the things that are missing from the NASCAR body. I've highlighted the 3 slots at the back edge of the trunk here that'll need to be filled with some body putty, which you can get at a hobby store. Also, the drip edge on the left side that extends from the top of the roof to the edge of the trunk appears as a dotted line here, and it'll need to be removed with some sandpaper. Remove the safety web here with a hobby knife and some sandpaper to smooth it out. And also, we'll have to fill in the exhaust slots at the bottom of both sides of the car body with some of that putty. Round off the front spoiler ridge that runs along the bottom of the front fascia. It'll have to be removed and sanded off. And then the area that's indicated by the white line there, that needs to be sanded flat to match the body accent on the Fusion. The NASCAR hood line, as well as the roof panels here, will also have to be filled in with some putty and sanded smooth. The port for the fuel filler will have to be filled in. I suggest using thin layers and just building it up. The back end of the model is one of the trade-offs we'll have to make because the NASCAR is much wider and more squared off than the factory car. So what we're going to just do is give it a softer look by rounding off the edges of the rear quarter panels in the areas marked. Spread the body putty onto the areas that need to be filled in thin layers and wait till it dries and sand it off. If you need to add some more filler, then just repeat the process. Rounding off those corners makes the car look much more like the factory version. This is the first of several layers, but you can see it starting to smooth out and fill in these panel lines. Follow the same process and fill in the panel lines on the hood, which is much narrower than the factory car. The modeling I had a sunroof, so I decided to remove the panel here by starting it with a drill and cutting with the backside of a hobby knife from corner to corner to remove that panel. There's other ways to do that though. You could apply a decal after paint, or you could just scratch in or scribe in the panel lines and paint it black and as an inset after you're done with final paint. Just trim and sand the opening until you get the results that you're looking for. Now that most of the body work's been done, it's time to start scribing those panel lines that we drew on the model at the beginning. Now this isn't my strong suit, but I find that you get better and better with practice. And if you've never done it before though, it might be a good idea to start with an old model or just some plastic stock to do some scribing to practice it before you put it on your car. You can make your model without them, the scribing, but it makes it look much more realistic if it has panel lines. When it comes to scribing, you can really do everything you need with the backside of a hobby blade and a steady hand, but for the rest of us, there's some small tools available at hobby shops and techniques available to help. Now, these are the main tools that I use to scribe panel lines. From top to bottom, there's the scribing tool, a pin vise, a draftsman's divider, and a hobby knife. And if you'll notice the hobby knife, I use a black Sharpie on the tip to mark the blade so that I can see it better when it cuts. The items shown here can help you to draw the lines and contours with your blade to start your scribing. They are, from the top to bottom, a thin metal drafting guide, a 15 centimeter steel ruler, and some Dymo style labeling tape. The key to scribing is patience and starting out with a very light touch, just barely scratching the surface on your contours, and adequate lighting. The hobby knife works fine, but you have to be more careful. You start out with a light touch, drawing your tool along the scribing aid that you're using, just barely touching it until you get a credible line for deeper cuts or a path for the other tool to follow. I usually start with a pin vise that's been fitted with the tip of a straight pin. That's right, just a needle, until it leaves a deep enough edge to use to follow. And I follow that with the backside of a hobby knife blade, and finally the scribing tool if it needs some extra width. You got to remember, practice makes perfect. I start by scribing the straight lines first. Slight curves, indicated by the arrow here, like the forward door panel, are best started with the aid of an object that has a hard edge or pattern like this helix drawing aid, made out of metal. It's thin but flexible. But any object that fits the bill, like a can lid, will do. Some panel lines, like this door over the wheel well, will follow a contour, and it's best to use something that can control that width to start the scribe, like these dividers. If you make a mistake with scribing, you can always go back over that with some body putty, sand it out, and then rescribe the cut. But this is what you'll kind of end up with when you're done. Now it's time to remove the door posts and replace them with some plastic stock pieces. They're in the wrong locations, and one of them is a different size. So use your hobby knife to score the top and the bottom until you get through them. Now take a piece of 1/16 inch thick plastic sheet stock and draw it at a couple of angles, a little less in the back, a little more in the front, about the right thickness for your door post, using your photos as a reference. Then you take a scribe and you cut bisect it right down the middle so that it looks like the door. Now cut a piece of strip stock, about 30 thousandths, and put it along the top of the door sill, and then glue that into place. Notch it where the door panels come together, the front and the back, and then glue your door post into place at the top of the roof. Now give the body an overall light sanding, and then spray it with some light gray primer, and then take a look and check for any mistakes or errors that need to be corrected. And you can sand those off and then rinse her off and let her dry. Now spray paint the body in your color of choice. Next, use some plain paper to trace the window openings and the sunroof opening from the model. You can move the patterns to some black construction paper like this, or you can use some clear plastic packaging material. Outline the patterns with a black marker. Cut out the patterns and use some low-tack tape to cover the outside of the windows. Spray paint the inside of the windows with some flat black primer. Now turn the body upside down and tape your windows into place with some sticky tape. Now put the body and the chassis together and remove the exhaust pipes that have the oblique lines and marker here. Then use the 4 screws to fasten the body to the chassis. Now grab the stickers from the box and look at the locations on the instructions for where to place them on your model. Now for a personal touch, place a little clear tape over that photo of your license plates and cut it out. Then glue it to the back end of your model. Aside from those panel lines, this is a pretty easy way to get a replica of a Ford Fusion 4-door from a NASCAR kit from Revell. You won't want to miss any of our premium quality reviews, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But we're also available on Facebook, and we have our own website at www.rightonreplicas.com.